Congratulations, everybody. The day is finally here. It's game day. Tennessee and Ball State. It's been a long off season, but finally, it's game day. We're going to break down that and a whole lot more right here on your game day edition of Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, your go-to Tennessee Volunteers podcast each and every day, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That's your team every single day. I'm Eric Kane. You can find me on Twitter @_Kaner and @Locked On Vols. And as you very well know, it is game day. Tennessee and Ball State coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. We're going to get you set right here on the pod. Subscribe wherever you find your podcast, and please subscribe and follow us on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen. So, got a fun show coming up. We're going to break down expectations for Ball State. We're going to take a look at Tennessee and season openers throughout its history, and then we're going to get a special guest coming up later in the show. So really looking forward to that. But first, before we get into things, I do want to make an announcement, a little bit of an announcement. You guys probably saw on my social media account, and if you were listening to the radio show on a Wednesday morning, I am stepping away from the Sports Animal. I'm no longer going to be a part of the morning show. I want to continue pursuing this podcast. I want to continue pursuing my work with VolQuest, and I want to have more of a work-life balance, if that makes a little bit of sense. I don't want to work 17, 18-hour days anymore, and so I'm blessed to be in the position that I'm in to be able to do that. It's going to be tough. I promise I'm not going to make this long or anything, but it's going to be tough. I love radio. It's my passion. I'll do radio again one day. I feel like I will, but right now this is the right move. Can't thank the Sports Animal enough. An incredible 5 years to the day, mind you, been an incredible 5 years. And to Tyler Robbins and Will West, it's been so much fun, and I love it. My final show at the Sports Animal will be Friday morning. So wake up if you listen to the program, 6 to 9 a.m. on 99.1 The Sports Animal. We'll break down a Tennessee Vols victory Friday morning, and that will be my final show. But enough of that. Let's get into this matchup. Just wanted to get that out of the way in case you saw and you had questions or whatever. But nothing changes here. Staying on Locked On Ball, staying with Brent Hubbs over at VolQuest. Looking forward to that. Expectations for Ball State. What are you expecting from this football game for Tennessee? We broke down Ball State. I've told you about some of the notes on them and personnel wise. I do want to bring a couple more notes to the show here right now. This is from the Ball State game notes. Out of the 112 players on the roster, 83 are classified as underclassmen. 83 underclassmen total ranks 18th highest in college football. In addition, Ball State's roster makeup is 74.1% of underclassmen. That ranks 7th highest in FBS. So a very youth-like football team, okay? Also, this could be the fourth highest or the fourth biggest crowd Ball State ever plays in front of. It's played in front of 300,000 fans, 100,000 total crowds throughout its history. 06 played in front of 109,000 at Michigan. Last year played in front of 105,000 against Penn State and played 104,000 against Texas A&M here recently as well. I'm not expecting, I said on my practice reports, I guess it was Wednesday evening, that's, maybe somewhere around 90,000. That was probably a little bit too high on, for me. I said around 88,000. That's probably a little too high, maybe closer to 81, 82. We'll see. It'll be a big crowd, but it's not going to break 100,000. But still, I thought that was interesting. We know about the personnel turnovers. We know about the, players coming back, but not a whole lot of depth for Ball State and a very youthful football team. And you look at the numbers, that's going to be a little staggering. So coming into play an SEC team, you're already outmatched, coming into a ruckus environment, one of the best in the country, coming into one of the biggest stadiums in the country. Ball State's got a lot going against it. Okay. So I did want to kind of read those out to you, but my expectations for this football game, and it's nothing more than what I've already said here. I mean, offensively, you want it to be clean. You want it to be no pre-snap penalties. Obviously you want to take care of the football. You want to be efficient in running the plays. I think Josh Heupel wants to run about 85, 86 plays per game. He was in the 70s a season ago, which is still scooting on average, but still you want to run some more. So what does that tempo look like? I expect the tempo to look pretty good, basically because they've been doing tempo every single day in training camp for the last month. And so I'm expecting the tempo to look pretty good. But also, I mean, we want to see big plays. We want to see explosive plays, plays of 20 yards or more. That's kind of what I characterize as an explosive play. And so we want to see that. What does Hendon Hooker look like? What does Cedric Tillman look like? What does this offensive line look like? Jabari Small, protecting the football, all that type of stuff, explosive plays, and scoring a whole lot of points. Finishing drives. I would love to see a scenario where Tennessee possesses the football, 13 or 14 drives in this football game and scores touchdowns or gets points on all but 2 or 3 of them. I think that would be a really good statement against a Ball State team here in week number 1, when clearly, even when the backups are in, even when the third string quarterback's in, hopefully in Taven Jackson, that's kind of what I'm expecting here in this football game. Also, I'm intrigued to see what these freshman running backs look like, man. I mean, we know Jalen Wright's gonna play in this football game. He missed pretty much all the training camp, but he's healthy. I expect him to play in this football game. He'll be the second option to Jabari Small. But I want to see what Dylan Sampson looks like. I want to see what Justin Williams-Thomas looks like. Obviously, the competition will take a big step up in week 2 when you go to Pittsburgh, but I want to see what these guys look like under the lights and in a live game type situation. Left tackle, Gerald Mincy and J.J. Crawford. I expect J.J. Crawford to be the first one out there. I could be wrong, but both those guys are going to get reps with the ones. We know that. Which one of those guys maybe takes a step forward and maybe solidifies that job heading into Pittsburgh? We will have to see. You want to see what Brew McCoy and the other wide receiver looks like, all that and more. Defensively, I want to create havoc. Obviously, this is a game where Tennessee should be plus 3 to 4 in the turnover margin, okay? Tennessee should be creating turnovers. Tennessee should be pressuring the quarterback, forcing bad throws. Tennessee should be picking passes off in the secondary. I'd love to see a defensive touchdown. Now, that's asking a lot, but still, that would be pretty neat to see. Tennessee needs to dominate the line of scrimmage. Tennessee needs to win third down. That's something Tennessee was awful at doing a season ago. But in a game like this, when point blank, I'm going to shoot you straight. This is a glorified scrimmage, and I understand Georgia State 2019. You never take an opponent lightly, and I'm trying my best not to. But this is a glorified scrimmage. And UT Martin down the line is a glorified scrimmage. Akron is a glorified scrimmage. You need to dominate these types of games. So defensively, cause havoc, win third down, pressure the quarterback, get a couple of picks. If the team makes it in the red zone, force 3s instead of 6s, trade 3s for 6s. And I think that's kind of how you win the day. Really intrigued to see what Juwan Mitchell looks like, see how healthy he is. All accounts, he's had a really, really good camp. Really intrigued to see, that defensive tackle, what that rotation looks like. Amari Thomas is going to be one of those guys, but will it be a Karat Garland? Will it be a Elijah Simmons? Will it be a Bryson Eason, whoever gets that start? I would probably say Karat Garland, maybe Bryson Eason, but how deep do they rotate there? I think they're going to go, pretty 5-6 deep at defensive tackle. I'm intrigued to see behind Byron Young, what do these freshman edges look like, man? These freshman Leos. I understand some people are saying, what about Roman Harrison? He's still there. He's still going to play. But point blank, Roman Harrison's not done anything in college so far. He's played a ton, hadn't done anything. Maybe that'll change this year. But I'm intrigued to see what Joshua Josephs does, what James Pierce does. I want to see that. Again, Juwan Mitchell in the middle layer. What does Elijah Herring look like when he should be getting some reps at linebacker later in this football game? And then, of course, the secondary, T-Mac, Tamari McDonald, first start at the star position. Will it overwhelm him? I don't think it will, but I'm intrigued to see that. Plus, the quarterbacks. Warren Burrell is going to start at one side. Who gets the start? Is it Kamal Hadden or Christian Charles? Kamal Hadden missed a whole lot of camp. He's probably the better option, but I'm intrigued to see what Christian Charles looks like. He's going to play a big role in this secondary. So, those are some of the things I'm looking for in this game tonight. Obviously, you want to come out there and score points. You want to get ahead early. I don't want to see Hendon Hooker playing much into the third quarter. I understand coming out and getting a drive or two under your belt, but past that drive or two, I want Tennessee to be in position to where you get Hendon Hooker out of the football game. You get Joe Milton some quality reps, and then get Taven Jackson in this football game. That's what these week ones are all about. Those are my expectations for this football game. Tennessee is a 34.5-point favorite. Wouldn't shock me at all if Tennessee covers. Again, I picked Tennessee to cover by that much, but again, I'm not touching that line. Number one, I cover the University of Tennessee. That's not ethically correct, in my opinion, for me to bet to gamble on that. But in terms of advisements, I stay away from those because the line's way too big. What if you get some secondary guys or some second, third stringers in there and, they still run the offense, but maybe they're not as explosive, obviously, as Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman. You still win the game by a ton, but you don't cover the spread. It's kind of like a lose-lose, right? So anyway, that's kind of my advice on that whole situation, but Tennessee should win big. and those are my expectations heading into the ball game tomorrow night. Coming up next, take a look at Tennessee and season openers over the years. All that and more right here on Locked On Vols. But first, BetOnline.net, your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports information. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, podcasts, including this year's opening week games. BetOnline is also your continued source for all the sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn about all the latest trends and all the action at BetOnline. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Welcome back into this game day edition of Locked On Vols. Hope you guys are waking up and it smells and feels a little bit like fall. I know it's still kind of hot out there, but there'll be fall weather before you know it. But hey, Tennessee kicks off the season tonight, 7 o'clock on the SEC network, and really excited about that matchup against Ball State, and I know you are as well. All right, so I wanted to get into some notes about Tennessee and the season openers because I always find that very intriguing. I know histories has nothing to do with the current team, but still, Tennessee's pretty dominant in season opening games. 93, 26, and 6 all time in season openers. In Knoxville, Tennessee is 74, 14, and 4 in season openers. Season openers at Neyland Stadium, Shields-Watkins Field. This is from 1921. Tennessee is 54, 12, and 3. Josh Heupel is 4-0 all-time as a head coach in season opening games. Of course, he was 3-0 at UCF, and then last year took down Bowling Green. All-time Thursday game record for Tennessee is 27, 21, and 9. You've got Thursday openers in the history. This will be the fourth one for Tennessee. Of course, the fourth one we'll be playing against Ball State. Last year, 2021, Tennessee won 38-6 over Bowling Green. In 2016, Tennessee was a 20-13 victor in overtime against Appalachian State. Again, that was 2016. And all the way back in 1991, Tennessee was at Louisville and won 28-11. So Tennessee is 3-0 in Thursday night opening games. And now is going to look to advance on to 4-0 in opening season games on Thursday nights. Tennessee overall, like I mentioned, all-time record in Thursday games, 27, 21, and 9. But the last time Tennessee played a football game was actually on a Thursday. If you remember the Music City Bowl when Tennessee came up short against Purdue in overtime, that was actually on a Thursday as well. So Tennessee looking to kind of move past that as well here coming up tonight. All right, let's look back at some season openers. We're going to go all the way back to every year in this century, all the way back to 2000, and really some good memories when you go back and think about some of these season opening victories for Tennessee. In 2000, Tennessee defeated Southern Miss 19-16. That was a top 25 showdown, if you believe it or not. 12th ranked Volunteers and the 22nd ranked Southern Miss. In 2001, Tennessee smoked Syracuse 33-9. In 2002, Tennessee blew past Wyoming 47-7. In 2003, Tennessee defeated Fresno State 24-6. 2004, Tennessee drilled UNLV 42-17. Once we get into kind of what I remember, I'll add some additional notes. 2005, Tennessee beat UAB 17-10, a little too close for comfort. And 2006, Tennessee defeats California 23-9. Tennessee technically an upset win in that football game, 35-18. I remember this football game like it was yesterday. Eric Ainge started at quarterback. He threw for like 4 touchdowns. Actually, I got it right here. 4 touchdowns, 291 yards on only 18 attempts. Deshaun Jackson played in that football game. I believe Marshawn Lynch played in that football game, and Tennessee just smoked him. And in fact, the final score wasn't really even indicative of the game. 35-18. It was not even that close. If I remember correctly. In 2007, Cal got its revenge, and again, in a 12-15 matchup, Cal defeated Tennessee 45-31 in that one. You go to 2008, UCLA took down Tennessee in overtime, 27-24. Of course, Tennessee was ranked 18th to begin that season. In 2009, you continue on here. In 2009, Tennessee drilled Western Kentucky 63-7. So now we're getting into the post-Philip Fulmer era. On to Lane Kiffin in 2010. Defeats Tennessee Martin 50-0. And then Montana the next year, Tennessee wins 42-16. So again, Volunteers not playing a whole lot of all-star talent for the most part in season opening games, but are taking care of business. And that's, what's going to be about like tonight as well, in my opinion. In 2012, I remember this one, Tennessee against NC State. That was a big one, 35-21. Tyler Bray had a really, really good game in that one. Cordell Patterson jumped onto the scene. I think he had 2 receiving touchdowns. He had a big return as well. And that was kind of the introduction of Cordell Patterson to the world, and that came against NC State in that matchup. So really, really fun game. I remember that back in 2012. In 2013, Tennessee shut out Austin Peay 45-0. We're getting into the Butch Jones era now. Tennessee defeats Utah State 38-7 in 2014. In 2015, you remember this one? This one was in Nashville, if I'm not mistaken. Tennessee defeats Bowling Green 59-30. And Tennessee rolled in that one and just ran the heck out of the football, almost put up a 60-burger against Bowling Green. In 2016, Tennessee, that was a close call against Appalachian State, 20-13, needed a Herculean effort from Joshua Dobbs to leapfrog into that end zone to score the game-winning touchdown when it looked like he got hurt on that play. But nonetheless, it was Tennessee that fell behind 13-3 at halftime, and then Tennessee scored 17 unanswered to go on and win that football game. Again, in overtime against Appalachian State. Tennessee was a top 10 ranked team heading into that season, 9th overall. And looked like Appalachian State was about to get another one. Remember, they beat Michigan years prior. In 2017, this was a close one in the Georgia Dome. You guys remember, 42-41 double overtime victory for Tennessee against the triple option team of Georgia Tech. If I'm not mistaken, you had Darrell Taylor, that had the big time tackle on the goal line to preserve the win for Tennessee. And then it went all downhill from there for Butch Jones. Of course, he never made it out of that season. The Jeremy Pruitt era, of course, Tennessee fell 40-14 against West Virginia. That game was in Charlotte. In 2019, we remember that game, 38-30. Georgia State defeats Tennessee, and then Tennessee responded well. A loss to BYU, and then they rattled off a bunch of SEC wins in a row to finish with a 7-5 regular season that year. Then in 2020, Tennessee went on the road to Columbia, South Carolina, got a pick six from Henry To'oTo'o and a muff punt to end it, and Tennessee squeaked out a win 31-27 to begin the 2020 season. And then that leads us into the Josh Heupel era last year, 38-6, the winner for Tennessee. So I know I just listed off a bunch of scores, but just kind of going to show you the way Tennessee kind of does opening season games throughout its history. For the most part, there's not been a lot of marquee matchups. You look at the schedule, there's not a whole lot of marquee matchups in non-conference play. Oklahoma's on the schedule next year, but they're coming to the SEC here pretty soon. So, even that game could be subject to change potentially. But, there's been a couple of big-time games, Tennessee Cal and Tennessee and UNLV, or not UNLV. I think it was Southern Miss. That was a ranked matchup, and nonetheless. But overall, it's just kind of like what it's, drubbed up to be tonight. Tennessee, Ball State. Tennessee should have a mammoth victory. That's what I'm predicting. And the stats don't lie. I read you off the numbers. Tennessee very successful in opening season games. All right, that's going to do it here for this segment. Got a very special guest going to join me when we return here on Locked On Vols. It's a big day for a number of reasons. Okay, it's obviously game number 1 for the University of Tennessee, but also a big day for VolQuest. Brent Hubbs will join the show when we return to tell us all about tonight's opener and what's next for VolQuest right here on Locked On Vols. Well, Thursday is a big day for a number of reasons. First of all, it's Tennessee football game day. Tennessee takes on Ball State to kick off the new season, the 2022 campaign. I'm here with Brent Hubbs of VolQuest. And Brent, a lot of it's like this every year. I understand it, but a lot of buzz, a lot of people excited about what this version of Tennessee is going to look like. But if I had to guess, returning a guy like Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman on offense, it's going to be explosive. It's going to be exciting.
Well, I think, for the Tennessee fans, that's what last year was. It was the opportunity to watch an offense really take off and start to put up a lot of points. I mean, you go back and look at that Kentucky game and what they did to blitz to start that game. I mean, that's a fan's dream, right? Nobody starts games like that. To bring all those components back, or most all those components back, I think provides a great excitement. There's no doubt. To win in college football, high school football, the NFL, you got to have a quarterback. I mean, it's been a long time since Ray Lewis won a Super Bowl. and I guess maybe the Giants won one with a quarterback who was just marginal. But for the most part, you got to have a quarterback who can make plays in this day and age in college football, and Hendon Hooker showed the ability to do that. That starts your enthusiasm. Then you throw the other parts coming back on offense, and an offensive-minded head coach that only fuels that enthusiasm.
We knew who Cedric Tillman was, or at least the people that follow football. We knew who Velus Jones was. No one knew who Javonte Payton was. No one knew who a lot of some of these receivers were. But they really came into their own a season ago. And Velus is now in Chicago, and Cedric's looking like going to be a draft pick after this season. Saying all that, you got to replace two of those guys. Jalen Hyatt's going to start in the slots, and then you'll have a combination of guys, including Brew McCoy. Do you have confidence in the wide receiver position as the season goes on that they're going to figure it out? And do you think potentially you can see more than three players kind of going differently against what they did last season?
Yeah, I think you'll see them play a deeper rotation, and I do think that they'll figure it out. And the reason I think they'll figure it out is because of Josh Heupel and Alex Golesh. They've just got a history, particularly Josh Heupel, a history of taking guys who nobody perceived to be great wide receivers, but guys who could run or guys who had enough athletic ability, and they turned them into very productive players. You go back to Emmanuel Hall at Missouri and some of these other guys, and I'm not knocking those guys, but you go back to those guys, and they were just kind of thought to be okay guys who just were productive as could be. Much the same way Cedric Tillman a year ago was just kind of a guy until all of a sudden he took off. Josh Heupel doesn't smile, and he doesn't kind of, I don't want to say giddy, that's not the right word. He was almost giddy about Brew McCoy when he met with the media this week. I know he likes Brew. I know it was a big moment for him to get to share with Brew that he was eligible and to watch Brew share it with his dad. I know that meant a lot to him. But I think Josh Heupel believes Brew McCoy can make a big difference for this offense and can make a big difference for this receiving core. I think it helps because it keeps Jalen Hyatt for sure inside where he's wanted to be the whole time and where his focus has been, and then it helps Cedric Tillman on the other side. I'm not saying that Brew McCoy is just going to take off. There's going to be some growing pains along the way there. It's a talented guy who can run that I think fits this system real well. So I like their first three. I think Walker Merrill's better than people think that he is. Then the question becomes, do they ever get enough trust in Jimmy Callaway, Jimmy Holiday, and how quick can some of those young guys come on, like a Chaz Nimrod and those guys that we look to kind of see what they look like when they hit the field against Ball State.
You flip the script and look at the defense, and for Tennessee to take a step as a team, whether that means another winner, a win or two in the win column, or whatever, but you got to get better defensively. And Tennessee had no depth last year. We think that Tennessee will have more depth this year. But I think that, and I heard Austin Price say this the other day, and I couldn't agree more, I think that's the absolute weakness of that defense a season ago is linebacker. That's a chance to be the most improved unit, in my opinion, this season. Let's watch them play. But Jeremy Banks comes back. Aaron Beasley's continued to be steady Eddie there. Got a whole lot of playing time a season ago. Juwan Mitchell's going to help them out this year. Solon Page. And then you even got guys like Elijah Herring who can step up, and Pat Garland. Defensively, what do you see as not necessarily the ceiling? What do you expect, I guess, from this defense this season?
I think they'll be better in passing situations on third down because I think they're going to rush the quarterback better. I think the challenge is going to be, can they be as good on first and second down as they were a year ago? Because they got teams into a lot of third down situations. They really did. They just couldn't get off the field. Can they handle the run and the defensive interior? Matthew Butler did a lot of really good things last year, eating up snaps. They played the run, pretty well. Can they find enough guys in the defensive interior to do that, to get them into third and long or third and passing situations? And then if they do, I think they're going to have the freedom because I think they're going to be able to naturally rush the quarterback with four where maybe you don't have to blitz every time. You're going to blitz some. You're never going to not blitz. But it was so predictable what they were going to do last year on third down. They were blitzing somewhere. Either Jeremy Banks was coming in the A-gap, they were bringing corner pressure or slot pressure, either corner off the boundary, or they were bringing Theo Jackson off the nickel in a blitz situation because they had to have extra bodies to get there. If they can get to where Byron Young, Joshua Joseph, Tyler Barron, some of those guys can really affect the quarterback off the edge, get him off a spot, and disrupt things, it'll make that back end better. So I think that's the key, is getting to those third down situations they were in a year ago, and then those guys off the edge taking the steps and becoming the type players that a lot of people on campus are hoping they will be.
So a big night coming up tonight, Tennessee and Ball State, the kickoff of the 2022 campaign. I think we're all really excited about that. But it's also a big day for another reason. After a long tenure at Rivals for myself, 3+ years, not really after a long tenure for you at Rivals, 20 years, VolQuest is evolving, and I'm excited about it. I know you are. Now joining the On3 network beginning today, Brent Hubbs.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, and we are excited about the next generation of VolQuest, the next generation of coverage. Some people have asked me, why would you do this 22 years at the umbrella you're at? Why are you doing this? And I've shared this story a couple different places. In 1997, I was at Slotsky's Deli on the Strip getting ready to go to a Tennessee night scrimmage, Peyton Manning's senior year. And I was there with a couple of Nashville guys and some Nashville media guys. And there was this guy there talking, and he was talking about recruiting, and he was just eat up with recruiting. And he was talking about how recruiting coverage was getting ready to change big time, and how the internet was going to change and revolutionize covering recruiting. He talked about games being online to watch. And you got to remember, man, that's all dial-up. There's no high speed back then. My email address was at mindspring.com. It wasn't even at AOL.com. That's how old I am, right? and it kept talking about, players are not going to be sending out DVD highlights and VHS highlights. It's all going to be online. And I'm like, this guy, what is he talking about? 3 years later, he calls me and says, hey, you want to come work? You want to come work for me? And it was Shannon Terry. And Shannon had a vision in 97 that recruiting was going to change. He was ahead of his time there. And over the course of the last 22 years, he stayed on the forefront of innovation and college sports coverage, particularly recruiting, database work, and also the understanding of the importance of message boards and communities. So when he called and said, hey, just listen to me, because my first reply was, look, I'm 22 years here, we're good. He goes, just listen. I want you to just come listen. I did, and as I was heading back home from his home office that he had created in Nashville, I kept thinking about that meeting at Slotsky's, and I just kept thinking about how 25 years ago he was ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. He's not fallen behind the curve over the last 25 years. He's helped push that curve out there, and I think that's why this next generation of VolQuest has got a chance to be so exciting for everybody, because it's going to combine all the great things that have been done the last 20 years and enhance those things, because we've all done stuff that didn't work, or we've all done stuff that we like that. Now how can we enhance it to be better? But the foundation of what the last 22 years have been about is never going to change. Breaking news, complete recruiting coverage, coverage in vast different mediums, video, podcasting, written word, and then most importantly, the community that is the message board. And we're a family. At times it's a dysfunctional family, right? Yeah. Everybody's after each other about something. But those same people that are after each other about something are also the same guys who help each other find a ticket if they need a ticket, pray for them if they're going through something, physically or mentally or whatever. They're all there for one another. It's just sometimes you argue about it like your brothers and sisters do. And we're looking forward to it. I'm so glad that everybody at VolQuest agreed with me and said, hey, let's go do this. You, Austin, and Rob. And it's time to go to work, man. I'm excited. It should be a lot of fun.
Well, obviously, you and I have had many conversations about this over the last year, and I'm thrilled about it and super excited. And we're inviting all Tennessee fans.
Absolutely.
All Tennessee fans. If you want to be a part of this new journey with VolQuest, how can you go about it?
Well, just go to On3. Right now, they've got a great deal going. We've got a great deal going for all Tennessee fans out there. It's going to be $1 for the year. That we're betting on ourselves. Mm-hmm. Shannon Terry and the people at On3 are betting on us as a staff that, hey, we'll sacrifice a little bit up front or whatever to get you in the front door, but you're not going to want to leave, because it's going to be coverage like you haven't seen before. So you can go to volquest.com. It's going to take you right there. You can get signed up. It's a quick, easy sign up. You can sign up for $1, jump in and check us out. Enjoy all of our game day coverage that we have today, a lot of unique things, and we're off and running, and it should be a blast.
I was going to say, you might want to go and spend that $1 right now, because we got some awesome, incredible stuff that you're going to want to check out right here for game day to get you set for Ball State. Brent, thanks so much, man.
All right, thanks, Eric. Appreciate it, man.
Big thanks to Brent Hubbs for stopping by the show and giving us a little breakdown of what he thinks on Tennessee is going to be this year, and of course, previewing tonight's matchup against Ball State. And a lot of exciting things happening with us over there at VolQuest. So really encourage you guys to jump on board, inviting all Tennessee Volunteers fans, take advantage of this offer. we're really, really thrilled for this next chapter of VolQuest, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. All right, guys, that's it. The next time we talk, I'll be on no sleep. I'll be breaking down what should be a Tennessee Volunteers win. It'll be recording probably at like 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning once I finally get done with all my post-game stuff. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. It's why we do it, man. So really, really looking forward to it. Hey, congratulations once again. You made it. Game day. It is here. Tennessee and Ball State tonight, 7 o'clock on the SEC Network. And, of course, you can listen live on the Vol Radio Network right here on 99.1 The Sports Animal and WIVK 107.7 in the Knoxville market. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and now we got to push on to 5K by the end of football season. Guys, appreciate it. Happy game day. We will talk again on a Friday morning, breaking down what needs to be and what I expect to be a big-time Tennessee lopsided victory. Happy game day, everybody.